So in this video, we're finally going to be talking about and revealing what exactly this secret piggy game is exactly going to be used for. So just go ahead and hopping right on into this. A few days ago, I think like last week, I made a video on the secret piggy game. I put that in quotation marks because it was a copy of the piggy game, the normal piggy game with, a few changes here and there. And it was actually hidden. It was hidden deep inside of MINITOO'Ns game folder on Roblox. You couldn't really find it without knowing it existed. Honestly, I have no idea how you guys found it, but you guys are like a bunch of ninjas and you found it somehow. But anyway, I made an entire video on it, and what happened is when you joined the game, because you were able to join it for a little bit, when you joined the game, there was some weird things about it. Some of the skins looked a little bit different, and then some of the game modes also had some different qualities to them. For example, the infection game mode was actually just called Turn. It wasn't called Infection anymore. It had been completely renamed. And well, after about a day of this game being public and everyone finding out about it, MINITOON actually shut the game down. And now whenever you join the game, it gives you this message here. It says, "You were kicked from this game. Wait, how'd you get here? I am impressed by your detective skills, but please don't come back. Have a lovely day." And then your Roblox name, you're incredible, error code 267, and the only thing you can do is leave the game. Now, you can make a VIP server and try and get in that way, but it gives you the exact same error message. And while most people would probably assume that this is just a testing place that MINITOON uses to test new updates and changes to Roblox Piggy, but that's actually incorrect. This is not the testing place that MINITOON uses. Case in point, this game was created in January of 2021. Obviously, Piggy's been around for a lot longer than that, so it would make sense that the testing game would actually be a lot older than that. This is a newly created game this year. Now, I and many others have been confused by this. Is this like Piggy Book 3? Is this going to be like an extra game that MINITOON's making in the Piggy storyline? Well, we finally got our answer yesterday. So I woke up to a bunch of tweets basically telling me, hey, go look at that secret Piggy game. It's looking a little bit weird, Creecraft. And if you go to that page, I'll actually, I guess there's no point in having a link because you can't play it. But anyway, it looks like this. It's basically just all Chinese characters now. The title Piggy has been replaced with what I assume is the Chinese translation for Piggy. And then the description has also been translated to Chinese. Now, I don't think it's a complete one-to-one translation because there's some words in the Chinese alphabet and language that, we don't have and vice versa. But anyway, you can tell it's the basic Piggy description because it actually has the controls listed right here in the bottom. There's control right there, and it's the same thing for the English version of the game. Now, a lot of people have been really confused by this. What in the world's going on here? Why is there a Chinese translation of Piggy? Why is it in Chinese? Like, what's happening here, Creecraft? So I believe I know exactly what's going on here. So if you guys recall, about a year ago, Roblox launched in China, meaning that if you go to China, you can now actually play Roblox games inside of China. However, there is a really big issue with playing Roblox games in China, and that is that, well, China has a lot of restrictions on video games. I'm not going to get into the politics of it all because honestly, that's an entirely separate video and discussion, but basically, China's got some really weird video game laws to the point where Chinese players and American players essentially can't even play together. If you're a Roblox dev and you are going to have your game in China, well, you pretty much need to have an entirely separate game. And the reason for that is China has some really weird laws in its country. For example, you can't have any skeletons in your game. All right, if you have a skeleton in your game, it will not be allowed in China. It will be banned by the Chinese government, and you will not be able to play it. You're also not allowed to have stuff like ghosts in China. If you go to China and you play a video game in mainland China, I'm not talking Hong Kong or anything, but mainland China, there will be no ghosts in video games because they are banned. You can't have any supernatural stuff or any spooky wooky stuff, any, like demons or anything like that. That's not allowed in China. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any examples of this on Roblox, but being a massive video game nerd that I am, I do have a few examples from other video games. Now, in the video game World of Warcraft, if you don't know what it is, don't worry about it. Just take a look at the screenshot up on the screen. So on the left is the American version, and on the right is the Chinese version. On the left, this guy has a giant skeleton battle axe, and on the right, the skeleton has just been replaced with rocks. Reason why is because in China, you can't have skeletons in video games. Now, you may know where I'm going with this, and if so, good job, but there's a few skeletons inside of Piggy. In fact, there's a lot of things inside of Piggy that is just straight up not allowed in China. For example, there is an entire skeleton pig inside of the game that is not allowed inside of China. There is an entire skin that is a ghost. Guess what? That is not allowed inside of China because that is supernatural. That qualifies under the demon aspect. You you can't have that in China. And the more I was thinking about this, the more it makes sense. Why in the world was the infection game mode changed to turn? Well, that's because in China, you can't have stuff like the infection game mode. It has to be called something else. It has to work differently. That also explains why some of the skins look differently, because obviously they're going to have to change a few of the skins. You can't have Zombie Piggy inside of China because it's part of the skeleton is showing through. Can't have that. It's got to be different. So what this ultimately means is that unlike every other language, where if you're playing Piggy in, let's say, Mexico, the game will just automatically be translated to Spanish. All the text on screen will be Spanish, and it'll be the exact same game as, you know, the American version or the Canadian version or the UK version or whatever. And it's the same thing with every other country in the world. If you go to like Germany and play Piggy, it's going to be the exact same game. You can still play with your friends and all that. It's just you're going to have a different language. But the Chinese version is different. It has to be an entirely separate game because a lot of things have to be changed. And, you know, there are rules by the Chinese government that, you know, Chinese players can't exactly play with Western players. So that explains why there's an entirely separate Piggy game, because there has to be. MINITOON is making the Chinese version of Piggy so that the Chinese players can play. And the reason why it's an entirely separate game is because he has to make a lot of changes in the game in order to make it, you know, viable and, I guess, legal inside of China. Yeah, I know. There's some really weird laws over there. Like, it's just, it's crazy. But hopefully that answers all of your questions about the secret Piggy game. What's going on with it? We finally now know, well, this is pretty much just the Chinese version of the game. There's a lot of other Roblox games that have done the exact same thing. Jailbreak had to do the exact same thing because guess what? You can't have handcuffs in video games in China. It has to be rope. You can tie someone up with a rope, but you can't use handcuffs. Now, is this going to make Piggy more popular? Well, it's hard to say because obviously the Chinese players aren't going to be playing on the normal Piggy game. It's going to be like their own separate universe kind of thing. Like they have to be stuck to their own thing because, again, Chinese government, right? But we're not gonna get into that because that's it. Anyway, it should help out MINITOON. He'll be making more money from the game, and more money means he can hire more people and make more cool stuff for Piggy for everyone. So that's good news for us. So that explains it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. Keep using star code RealCreek when you're buying your Roblox and Roblox Premium, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!